Hi, my name is Christina Neuendorf, and I'm going to present on the topic of writing and assessment and instruction for students with autism spectrum disorders. ASD, which I've abbreviated autism spectrum disorders as ASD, and written expression. What do we know about that topic? Well, we know that autism prevalence in public schools is rising steadily. New reports suggest that 1 in 59 children has an ASD, which is amazing. That report just came out. We've gone from 1 in 68 to 1 in 59. Federal legislation has mandated access to the general curriculum for more learners with ASD. Well, we know that because we had No Child Left Behind. Now we have Every Student Succeeds Act. However, limited research exists in how to instruct students with ASD in academic skills, including written expression. And written expression consists of several skills that have to be combined to produce work, including working memory, syntax, perspective taking, and fine motor skills. Commonly used achievement tests used to evaluate student writing skills vary in their content, but a good evaluation should measure skills such as alphabet writing, sentence writing, story writing, essay or report writing, writing fluency, mechanics, spelling, handwriting, or keywording, and a review of classrooms and writing samples. And it is true that ASD is a spectrum disorder, so we have to consider the abilities of an Autism 1, formerly known as Asperger's student, versus an Autism 3 student who's pretty significantly involved and may have an intellectual disability. Why do students with ASD need to learn to write? Well, writing is considered the primary way to demonstrate your knowledge while you're in educational contexts at school. Writing is an important way to communicate as technology use continues to expand. Students with ASD and ID need to write to communicate messages. They need to do practical things like create lists, and they need to be able to correspond with their family and caregivers, regardless of, how else we can develop them as writers. Writing is an important form of self-expression. Everyone should be able to write to tell us more about what's going on inside themselves. Future writing tasks range from high-level reports and business correspondence and job settings to basics like, you need to be able to label things or do a simple inventory, or you need to be able to sign your name for a lot of jobs. And writing is required for competence in a wide range of post-secondary settings, including higher education, employment, and in the community. And look at the authors of that article that I located while researching this topic. Our own doctors Marchand, Martella, and Martella. What do we know about the writing skills of students with ASD? Well, we know that they have a wide range of deficits, including decreased legibility, complexity, and length of written work. These students consistently struggle with handwriting, organization, and description of abstract concepts. And studies suggest that students with ASD and ID have even larger deficits, including poor ideation for the development of sentences and tasks like journaling, narrative writing, and correspondence. So your speech-language pathologists and your OTs are going to be working, pretty in conjunction with you with these interventions, what we decide to do with this population. What do we know about the effects of writing intervention? Well, research shows that students with ASD demonstrate improved writing skills with intervention, so that's good. Most studies have involved spelling instruction, improving results with methods such as match-to-sample activities, computer-based video modeling, the use of a copy-cover method. Teams have taught students to improve composition skills using word or picture arrays to construct sentences, as well as sentence combining strategies to create complex sentences. That would be like taking two simple sentences. The ball is red, the ball is round. The ball is a red, round ball, and that's not a great example, but you know what I mean. Taking two simple sentences and combining them with the conjunction. A lot of students, that doesn't come to them very naturally. Other researchers have taught composition skills beyond the sentence level using story maps, story writing software, and modeling of ideation. So those would be like your Autism 1 kids that are able to expand their repertoire of writing. Using writing assessment to inform instruction. Well, we can use these tests. We can use Woodcock-Johnson to measure writing samples, writing fluency, editing. You can use the TOWL to measure skills in contrived writing, that's sentence writing, or spontaneous writing, that's story writing. You can use the Kaufman Test of Educational Achievement, as we now know, we studied it extensively. The written expression subtest can tell you a lot about what a student can or can't do. And you can use the Wyatt 3, will measure alphabet writing fluency, sentence composition, and essay composition. And the OWLS, the Oral and Written Language Skills, has a written expression subtest along with all of the verbal expression subtests that can measure writing skills. Well, how do we instruct kids with ASD? Well, we need to research those effective practices We need to use the research-based practices that have been successful use to teach writing to this population in the past, and we need to use research practices that have been used to improve related skills, such as improving verbal behavior, expressive communication, and including alternative augmentative communication for nonverbal students to teach them to write. And develop an intervention program using this information, and continue to collect data and evaluate the efficacy of your own intervention program. So what does good writing instruction look like? Well, generally speaking, you want to post literacy materials, you want to do daily writing practice, have predictable writing routines, model effective writing, and talk about your cognitive processes, how you think before you write. Evidence-based practices for students with ASD include behavioral teaching strategies, response prompting, differential reinforcement, shaping, chaining, discrete trial. I don't think I have to tell our ABA students about all of these effective practices for students with ASD. You can see some of the other things that have been shown effective in other studies. And then research on writing for students with ASD includes using response prompting strategies, video modeling, computer-assisted instruction, differential reinforcement, peer-mediated instruction, voice output communication aids. There's that AAC piece again, strategy instruction, and visual supports. Limitations and areas for future research. Well, research on writing interventions for students with ASD is limited, and most studies have used small sample sizes in school settings. Most of these studies have been conducted in special education classrooms or clinical settings, and these settings may have reduced validity to practitioners in general education classrooms. You can imagine that, all this stuff would be great, all these great supports for writing, but, this kid is placed in gen ed for part of their day. How are we going to do this? How do we utilize things like paraprofessional support in order to carry out these supports? Few studies have included social validity measures helping to determine if these methods are deemed effective by those intended to benefit from them, so that's not good. That's an area that we should be studying. And several methods hold promise for future research: teacher modeling, video modeling, computer-assisted instruction, selecting from an array, positive reinforcement. Future research should include more robust designs in general education classrooms, examining a broader set of skills, including both writing mechanics and composition. I agree with all of those things. I would also say that as a teacher that teaches writing to this population, I think there's just kind of a dearth of available curricula out there. I think there are methods and approaches such as the Writer's Workshop approach, which is very popular in my district, but I don't think it's easy to adapt for special education classrooms, for lab settings, and for this population. So I do think that there needs to be additional research. I think there also needs to be additional curriculum development. That's my presentation, and then I have attached a handout for you all to review that include my references. Thank you.